Shira Lamalos, Soina Alarim, Mayan Yavo Ezri. Ezri Mim Adonai, Yosei Shemayim Varet. Ayitin Lamot Raglecha, Al Yanum Shomrecha. Elo Yanum V'lo Yishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai Shomrecha Adonai Tzulcha Al Yad Minecha Yom HaShemesh Lo Yakeka V'Yareach B'Layla Adonai Yishmarcha Mikora Yishmar Es Nafshecha Adonai Yishmor Seischo B'Yecha Me'ata V'Yad Olam Shir HaMalos Imam Hakim Karasicha Adonai Adonai Shema B'Koli Tian Aznach Kashuva Sekol Tachanunai Im avonos tishmarya Adonai miyamod Ki imcha slicha leman tibarei Visi Adonai kivsa nafshi V'ledvara yechalti Nafshi l'Adonai mishomrim laboker Shomrim laboker Yachel Yisrael al Adonai, Kim Adonai Achased, Varbeim Opedus. V'hu Yiftas Yisrael, Mikol Avonosav. Kapitel Chaf. Lamnatzei, Yach Mizmor LeDavid. Yamcha Adonai B'yom Tzara, Yisagev Chashim Eloi Yaakov. Yishlach Ezracha Mikodesh Umitzion Yisadeka Yiskor Kol Minchosecha V'Olasecha Yidash Nesela Yitein Lecha Kilvavecha V'Chol Atzasecha Yimalei Niranan Abishu Asecha B'Shem Elohim Nigdo Yimalei Adonai Kol Mishalo Yisecha I tell you that Iki Yoshia Adonai Mashiach Yanin B'Shmei Kasho B'Gvros Yisha Yamino Eile V'Recha V'Eile V'Asusim V'Anachnu B'Shem Adonai Eloheinu Naskir Hema Karu V'Nafalu V'Anachnu Kamnu Nisodad Adonai Yoshia, Melech Yadinu V'Yom Kareinu. Achenu Kol Beis
Good evening. Bershus Armor Jasa, Rav Elazar Meir Teitz. Bershus Rabbi Leibowitz. My name is Stephen Rosen, and I have the great honor of serving as the chairman of Adath Israel. it is with immense joy that we gather today to mark the installation of Rabbi Shimmy Steinmetz as the new spiritual leader of our esteemed congregation. This is an exciting and meaningful moment for our shul. It is a celebration and profound expression of our commitment to Torah, Masorah, and the vibrant life of our community. Our story began long ago. Our world is vastly different than when Rav Pinchas Mordechai Teitz, Zecher L'Tzadik Livracha, first spoke from this pulpit. We are the beneficiaries of his vision and leadership, and of the countless individuals who built our shul and community into a center of Yiddishkeit and oasis of Torah in the vast secular deserts of America. Today marks the beginning of a new and promising chapter in our story. For generations, our rabbis emphasized the importance of Torah leadership in nurturing spiritual, individual, and communal life. We are blessed to welcome a leader who inspires with his wisdom and guides with unwavering dedication to our shared values. Together, we usher in a future filled with promise, growth, and divine blessing. We join in officially welcome Rabbi Shimmy and Eliana Steinmetz and their three beautiful children, Hadassah, Moshe Baruch, and Yerachmiel, to our incredible community. Rabbi Steinmetz, your warm demeanor has already created an environment where everyone feels welcome and at a home in Adath, Israel. You offer individual attention and ensure that each person feels valued. Beyond being a distinguished Talmid Chacham, you exemplify and model the qualities we each inspire to. Rebbetzin Eliana, we deeply appreciate the unwavering support and partnership you provide, enabling Rabbi Simens to devote himself fully to the needs of the community. Your role is crucial, and we are confident that you will be an inspiration and role model for our daughters, enriching the lives of all those around you. Dear friends, our shared vision for the future focuses on advancing Torah learning and life, building meaningful relationships, enhancing tefillah, and strengthening our sense of family, community, and unity. Rabbi Steinmetz, your appointment signifies a bright future for our community. Your expertise, dedication, and vision are invaluable, and as we strive to build upon our strong foundation. We look forward to working alongside you to elevate our spiritual lives, deepen our connection to Hashem, and expand our collective devotion to Torah and mitzvos. As we embark on this new journey together, we do so with hope, excitement, and anticipation for all the promise it holds. Rabbi Steinmetz, we welcome you with open hearts, and we are confident that with your leadership, our community will thrive as a center of Torah, learning, inspiration, engagement, and growth. Now, we are honored and privileged to have one of Rabbi Simens' revered Rebbeim here today, Rabbi Rabbi Leibowitz. Rabbi Leibowitz serves as the Dean of the Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary of Yeshiva University, where he directs the Smicha program and post-Smicha Kolalim. Rabbi Leibowitz delivers the biggest Smicha share in Reitz and is known throughout the Jewish world as a tremendous Talmid Chacham and posek. He is almost unparalleled in Harbatzas HaTorah, and you can find thousands of his shiurim online. In addition to serving as the Rosh Yeshiva at YU, Rabbi Leibowitz is the Mar Da'arsa of the Beis HaKnesses of North Woodmere. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Rabbi Leibowitz as he shares Divrei Bracha.
Thank you so much. Bereshus Harav Mar Da'asra of Teitz Shlita. This might be the last place in America where the term Mar Da'asra is still operative. And it's a very special pleasure and privilege to be able to be here. My family goes way back in Elizabeth, and my family's gratitude toward the Teitz family is unending. My grandmother would be so proud that I'm here today. My grandmother lived here in Elizabeth for many years, and really was helped tremendously by the Teitz family. And it's a really absolute pleasure and privilege to be together with my dear friend, Rabbi Shimmy Steinmetz, as he takes on this new role as the Rav of this shul. I was thinking about this role that Rabbi Steinmetz is embarking upon, what it means to become a Rav in a community like this, what kinds of qualities you need from him, what you were looking for that landed you with a Rav of Rabbi Steinmetz's capabilities, of his warmth, his intelligence, his knowledge of Torah, his Yirah Shamayim. And all of those qualities that I just mentioned are critical, but I think there's one overarching quality that undoubtedly you were looking for, and even if you didn't know you were looking for it, you found it. And it's a quality that I think goes way, way back in Jewish history. We go back to the first time, well, maybe not the first time, but one of the first times a yeshiva had to be set up for the Jewish people. Yaakov Avinu sends Yehuda, Ves Yehuda, Shalach Lefanav El Yosef, Lahoros Lefanav Goshna. Now, when we say that he sent Yehuda to set up a yeshiva, he wasn't a shul rabbi. He was setting up a yeshiva. But the model of a community Rav nowadays, as it always should have been and oftentimes was that the community Rav was the place where the Torah was the person who taught the Torah to the entire community. I remember so fondly hearing the description that Rabbi Teitz Shlita gave of his father, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, at the Levaya in Eretz Yisrael, when Rav Pinchas Teitz, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, passed away, and Rabbi Teitz Shlita said about his father that we can't measure who the greatest Marbitz Torah in terms of quality of Torah is. Is Rav Nachum's shir better than this one's shir? We can't measure those kinds of things. But what we can measure is quantity. And quantitatively, Rabbi Tatz, Zichron Levracha, was the greatest Marbitz Torah in the world. And that's because he was the Rav of a community who decided to use this platform to impact the entire world. And these are the shoes that Rabbi Steinmetz is stepping into. This concept of being a teacher of Torah to a community and ultimately to much more than a community, but it's more than just teaching Torah. Because if you think about Yaakov Avinu's choice to send Yehuda to be the one, to be the leader, to be the guy, he had other choices that he could have sent. Right? Reuven was the oldest. That would have been a pretty logical choice. He could have sent Levi. Levi represents the spiritual elite in Klal Yisrael, Shevet Levi. He could have sent Yisachar, who's the patriarch of the tribe of Torah learners, but no. He could have sent Yosef. Yosef was already familiar with the land. He was a native. But no, he sent Yehuda. What was it about Yehuda that he decided to send Yehuda in front of him? He decided to send Yehuda to be the leader of the Jewish community in Mitzrayim and to be the one to teach Torah to Misham Teitz Hora'ah, where Psak Halacha and Torah was going to emanate from. And I think that the salient point is that in order to be a leader, a person needs to be a Bal Achrayus, a person who understands what it means to take responsibility for oneself, for one's actions, for one's family, for one's community, and indeed for Klal Yisrael. The Chavetz Chaim in his commentary on Torah points out something interesting about when Avram Avinu was looking for a makom kvura for Sari Imenu. And he was told that everything's going to be taken care of because we hold you in such high esteem. Don't worry. You can just pick your place. Don't worry. It's all going to be taken care of. And Avram Avinu presses very specifically, I want to negotiate with Ephron, he says. I specifically need to speak to a specific person. And the Chavetz Chaim points out that you'll hear all the time. People will say, yeah, don't worry. Someone's going to take care of it. It's not going to not get taken care of, right? Someone is going to take care of it. And Avram Avinu knows how things work. When people say someone's going to take care of it, no one's going to take care of it. You need to find the guy who's actually going to take care of it, and you need to speak to that person because he's the person that's going to ultimately take achrayus. There's a machlokas in the Gemara Maseches Sota Daf Lamed Zayin about the attitude of the people immediately preceding Kriyas Yamsuf. On the one hand, Rabbi Meir Omer, Kisha'amdu Yisrael alayam, hayu shvatim menatzchim zeh im zeh. When the shvatim approached the Yamsuf, they started to argue with each other. Zeh Omer, ani yored tchila liyam. V'zeh Omer, ani yored tchila liyam. Everyone wanted to be the first in. I'll be the first to jump in. And the other Shevet said, no, I'll be the first to jump in. Everyone was offering to be the first to jump in. That's what Rabbi Meir holds. Amar lo Rabbi Yehuda, lo kacha yemaisa. No. That's not how it happened. Ella ze omer ein ani yored tchila liyam. This one said, I'm not going in first. You go in. Let's see how it works out for you before I jump in. Ze omer ein ani yored tchila liyam. Right? It's like the king who doesn't trust the chef and he makes the servant taste it first. I think I saw a meme or something where they said how many medieval chefs were killed because of people had peanut allergies and they didn't know. Right? So someone tastes the thing first. So let's see what happens to him. Let's see what happens to that guy first before I go into the yam. And Rav Meir Shapiro, quoted in the Sefer Shem and Atov, suggests that Rav Meir and Rabbi Yehuda aren't arguing. They had both of those conversations. When they're like a half a mile away, each one says, oh yeah, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to go right in. And then as they got closer and closer and closer, and they got right to the Yamsuf, then each one said, didn't you say you wanted to go in, right? You wanted to go in first. A person has to be a Bal Achrayus. Klal Yisrael needs people who are willing to take Achrayus for the Jewish people. Yehuda was chosen to build a yeshiva because a Rosh Yeshiva, a Rav, a leader, needs to take responsibility for all those that are under his charge. Yehuda was not the Bechar. He was not the leader of the tribe that was known to be the spiritual elite. That was Levi. He was not the leader of the tribe that was known to be the learners of Torah. That was Yisachar. He was not the native to the land. That was Yosef, or more native to the land. That was Yosef. What Yehuda was is the first person to explicitly take personal responsibility for others by guaranteeing Binyamin's safe return. In fact, the Tosefta describes 4 reasons that Yehuda deserved Malchus. He admitted wrongdoing with Tamar. He saved Yosef from death. He was willing to work as a slave in Mitzrayim instead of Binyamin. And his tribe was the first to jump into the Yamsuf according to the Tosefta. I saw an unbelievable insight from a dear friend of mine, one of the Rosh Yeshiva in our yeshiva, of Daniel Stein. He said, imagine you had the word Achrayus written out on a piece of paper. Aleph, Ches, Reish, Yud, Vav, Tav. Then you cover everything but the first letter. And then you slowly slide the paper over, revealing one letter at a time. And he said, you'll see something unbelievable. You'll see the development of a Bal Achrayus. Because you start only uncovering the Aleph, which represents Achrayus for oneself, for only one. And then you move one letter over and you revealed a Ches. It's Ach, a brother, representing taking responsibility for those that one is very close with. And then you move it over one more letter, a Reish, Acher. I don't only take responsibility for myself, nor only for my brother, but for others as well, for friends, family, community. And then you move it one letter over, Acharai. Once I'm a Bal Achrayus, follow me. Do as I do. Act as a leader so that others can follow. And then you move it over one more letter, Acharav. When people see the Bal Achrayus leading by example, they say, that's the one we want to follow. We want to go after him. And finally, you reveal the letter Tav, which would show that a word that begins with Aleph and ends with Tav was actually just today's Daf Yomi, where the Gemara tells us that when a section begins with Aleph and ends with Tav, it's symbolic of the entirety of Torah, the entirety of something. And that represents taking Achrayus for everything in our lives. I would imagine, except for family members, there are a few people here that have known Rav Steinmetz for longer than I have. And to see the development of a Bal Achrayus over all of these years, I was his 11th grade Rebbe in DRS Yeshiva High School. I wish I could tell you wild and crazy stories about 11th grade. He was a good kid, a good student. God, I used his test paper as like the answer sheet because I didn't remember the answers. He always did. So it was there's nothing funny I could tell you. You know, it was just, he's exactly what you would have thought he would have been in 11th grade. This is not like some spiritual rags to riches story. This is but to see how, you know, I wanted to actually look back at the old report card comments, you know, because teachers write on report card comments things like, he's conscientious, he's responsible. And I'm sure I use that term, responsible, because he always did everything he was supposed to do. And always. So what does responsible mean when someone is in 11th grade? What responsible means is that they take achrayus on the aleph for oneself. And then I got to see Rav Steinmetz go off to Yeshiva HaKotel, and I got to see how we revealed one more letter. There was a ches. There was a sense of responsibility for chaverim, for chavrusas, a sense of responsibility that broadened, that went beyond the aleph. And then I got to see another letter revealed. Acher, to take responsibility for Klal Yisrael, to appreciate family, community. But there's a critical thing that happened at that level. Rabbi Simens came back to yeshiva and attached himself to Gedolei Torah. He found people to follow. You know, my first day in yeshiva, I noticed all over there were signs that said, leaders of tomorrow, leaders of this. My first Musar Shmuz in the yeshiva, in the Beis Medrash, was, I think we need some followers of tomorrow. Not everyone is going to be a leader of tomorrow. Sometimes we need followers. But it occurred to me that in order to be a great leader, one needs to first be a great follower. And Rabbi Steinmetz attached himself to Gedolei Torah. Personal chavrusa with Rav Meir Twersky, which is not something that's easy to get or to do. His connection with Moreinu Rav Shechter Shlita. He found greatness to follow. And now he's at the stage where Acharai, where we reveal another letter. And he's ready to take the lead in this community, of course, attaching himself to the great leadership of Rav Teitz Shlita. But Acharai, follow me. And I want to highlight one thing about the style of leadership that you can expect from Rabbi Steinmetz. A lot of times when people are in a position of Rabbanos or any other type of leadership, they're looking for an angle, they're working the politics, they're doing this or that. There is zero shtick. He loves Torah, he serves Hashem, he follows in a derech that his amazing parents have set for him, and there is zero shtick. He does what is right because it is right. Leading by example. Acharai. And when you have someone whose entire essence, his mahus, the way he carries himself, screams Acharai, you're all going to respond, Acharav. I want to follow after him. I want to be like him. I'm going to go where he takes me. And then ultimately we're going to see that we'll reveal that last letter, that achrayus, that's all that encapsulates everything. You know, Rabbi Steinmetz is going to lead in Ruchnius. I'm asking you, as this community, to give him the support that he needs to do so, to open your hearts for that which he's ready to teach you, the Torah, the Yerushalayim that he wants to elevate you with, and to grow with him. He's young. He's not yet world famous. He will be. And this is where it's going to happen. It's going to happen from a place of sincerely committed, I know so many of you, of sincerely committed people who are interested in growing, interested in enhancing Avodas Hashem, interested in following a Masorah. This entire community is built on the concept of Masorah. Like I said before, there's only one Marada Asra left in America. There's only one concept, one place where there's such a strong concept of Masorah. Okay, maybe Washington Heights a little bit also, but one place where there's such a strong concept of Masorah. He's ready to follow that Masorah together with you, to grow together with you, to become the Balachrayus that he is already well on his way to becoming. And Be'ezras Hashem, I personally look forward to the incredible nachas. You know, it's been the greatest nachas a Rebbe can have is when a Talmud surpasses him in Torah. That happened long ago with Rabbi Steinmetz. Long ago with Rabbi Simens and me. Now we're going to see how he's going to catch up to his other Rebbeim as well. And you should follow, you should give him all the chizuk that he needs, all the help that he needs, and together you're going to grow together to continue this beautiful community, to be an Ir ve'em b'Yisrael for many wonderful years to come. Mazel tov.
Few communities are zocha to have in their midst a generational, renowned Talmid Chacham and Posek. Fewer shuls are able to boast an association with a Rav extending more than 60 years. It is the privilege of our lives that we, our families, and our children are able to regularly daven with, interact with, and learn from our city's Meir Rabbi Elazar Meir Teitz. Please rise for Rabbeinu HaRav Elazar Meir Teitz, who will deliver David Bracha and the official installation.
In case you've wondered over the years why the Rav goes over and kisses the Aryeh Kaddish before he starts speaking, it's in order to apologize, in effect, for turning his back to it. I am at a loss for words. Something that has happened to me with increasing frequency as the days run out. But I was thinking that, talking about installing a new Rav who is entering into a position and is in many ways can be compared to a bar mitzvah boy who's entering into a new division of life. And so I'll just borrow one of my old bar mitzvah speeches and ask the pardon of whichever one it was of you that I said it about. Yesterday we read the parsha of Vidu Meiser Sheni, in which a person every twice in 7 years has to get rid of all the mashros that have accumulated in his home, divide them to all whom they're supposed to go to. And he declares, especially pertaining to Meiser Sheni, he says, Bi'arti HaKodesh min habayis, that I got it all out of the house, as the din is, it's supposed to be twice in 7 years. And he goes on to say that he did everything the way it was supposed to be done. We did not eat it of it ba'aninus morning. Nor did he consume it while he was tonei, either he or it. I did not use it for the dead. And he continues, Shamati b'kol Hashem Elokai, I followed what Hashem commanded me. Vasisi kol Hashem tzivsani, I did all that you commanded me to do. And I told this bar mitzvah boy, and here we are being told what is supposed to happen, how you do serve Hashem. First of all, it should not be done as a burden, as an onus. Probably the only burden upon me. Secondly, it should not be done with impure thoughts of the argument of the Tomei. And third, you should not get tired of it and it's dead. It loses its life, its leviticate, when the sighting men on the base. Rather, Vasisi kol Hashem tzivsani doesn't say I did all that you commanded me. I did all as you commanded me. It doesn't say Vasisi kol Hashem tzivsani. It says Vasisi kol Hashem tzivsani. In the matter what you do. I'm sure that this is not a lesson I have to adjure Steinmetz not to fall into as he goes as a Rabbanis. But in general, it's being said to Rabbanim. I'll talk about myself then, if I shouldn't talk about someone else. That when you enter into this position with the full dedication that he so obviously has, and he won over a very hard crowd. In fact, now it can be told Rabbi Steinmetz was the second of the prophets. And there were some who weren't going to come to listen because they had already made up their mind for the first one. You couldn't do better than that. And he came and he sold them anyway. And they changed their mind. So, Mirza Hashem, as you go through it, I'm sure you will see to it that you will remain with that same positive, dedicated enthusiasm you have now, that it will be the Chadiv Oni, it will be the V'yarti V'tomei, on the side of the Mason will be done with the same dedication, with the same leviticate, the same concern and care for every person with whom you come into contact. And that is my hope for you, and as such you'll be the blessing to the Kehillah, which we so obviously now feel that you are. And I would point out that Osisi Kechol Mitzvah Mazel Tov, Osisi Kechol Mitzvah Secha is B'gematria Shimon, Ezra, Chaim, Stein. The Mazel Tov added on. It is one off, but as you all know, the Gematria can be one off. Mazel Tov.
We are honored and privileged to have one of Rabbi Steinmetz's Rebbe Muvak here, Rabbi Meir Twersky. Rabbi Twersky is a Rosh Yeshiva and holds the Leib Merkin Distinguished Professional Chair in Talmud and Jewish Philosophy at the Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary of Yeshiva University. His wisdom and advice is sought after by many across the Orthodox world. Rabbi Twersky hails from the Chernobyl Hasidic dynasty on his father's side, and his maternal grandfather was Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik Zatzal, with whom he studied privately for years. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Rav Twersky as he shares some divrei bracha.
Shusar of Teitz, of Steinmetz, Meir of Elazar. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he realizes that he's going to be unable to enter Eretz Yisrael, asks HaKadosh Baruch Hu to appoint a leader in his stead. And in that context, Moshe Rabbeinu provides us with a definition of leadership and a profile of a leader. Yifkar Hashem Elokei Aruchos L'chol Basar Ish Al Ha'eda. HaKadosh Baruch Hu appoint someone who will be Ish Al Ha'eda, a leader for the congregation. Asher Yetze Lifneihem V'asher Yava Lifneihem. Asher Yotzi'em V'asher Yaviem. One who will go out before them, one who will come in before them, one who will lead them out, one who will lead them in. What's Moshe Rabbeinu asking for? Whom is Moshe Rabbeinu describing? Many of us, certainly myself included, live in somewhat of a bubble and don't necessarily see beyond our own Dalet Amos, beyond our own parochial concerns. A leader is one, Asher Yetze Lifneihem. He goes out. He's attuned to, his heart is attuned to the tzaros of others. In today's world, certainly the tzaros of Achenu B'nai Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael. Asher Yetze Lifneihem, again, one who steps out, of his own private 4 cubits, and is a Bal Chesed, is an Ish Chesed. Chesed represents an outward motion, hispashtus. But a leader also at times is called upon to Asher Yavo Lifnehem. At times, a leader has to come in, he has to withdraw. At times, and we certainly live in such a time, when there are ideological fads and profound ideological confusion, a leader has to know how to step in to the Beis Medrash, step into the Dalet Amos Shel Halacha, and not be affected by those winds of confusion. I wish a hearty mazel tov to the Kehillah on having identified such an individual, Asher Yetze Lifneihem v'Asher Yava Lifneihem. And what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying is that, of course, there are many, the Rav engages in many activities. His drushes are an important source of inspiration. His correct Piskei Halacha are an indispensable part of his job. But above all, it's the power of example. Above all, a Rav has to serve as a role model. Asher Yetze Lifneihem v'Asher Yava Lifneihem, in his own personal conduct, in his life, in his values, in his commitment, and thereby, by his Asher Yetze Lifneihem v'Asher Yava Lifneihem, he will influence that Asher Yotzi'eim v'Asher Yevi'eim. They will follow his example. His Asher Yetze will result in leading them out, in the Asher Yotzi'eim. And his Asher Yavo, the power of his example, will result in the Asher Yevi'eim. So my bracha to my very dear friend, Rabbi Steinmetz, is that he should be blessed to continue and in his quiet, understated, very beautiful way, continue as appropriate Asher Yetze and as needed Asher Yavo, and thereby for the Kehillah Asher Yotzi'eim v'Asher Yevi'eim. Mazel tov.
Now I'd like to call upon Rabbi Simens to share a couple words.
Rishus Meir the Asra, Rishus Meir Rabbi Twersky, Rishus my Rabbi Leibowitz, Rishus my father, B'chol Hakal HaKodosh Hazeh. I wrote some notes down. The only other time I've ever, if people generally see me speak, I usually don't have any notes. The only time I've ever spoken publicly in front of my Rebbe was at my Chassan's Tish. And I learned a bunch of hours that morning, and I prepared something nice to say. And I remember the Chassan's Tish, I got up to say something, and my mind went completely blank. And I had a fear that would happen again. So I wrote down a few notes this afternoon. What I'm going to say are just feelings that I had this afternoon when trying to think about what it means to install a rabbi, what it means to begin a new job as a rabbi. In many other places, in many other communities, this event wouldn't be called an installment. It would be called like a haktara, from the word keser, the crown. And there's something ironic about that term, about crowning a rabbi, given that Rabbi Gamliel said in the Gemara in Horios, when after he basically appointed two big Talmidei Chachamim to become rabbis and they refused, so Rabbi Gamliel says, "Kumdu min atem shesrarani nosein lachem." Did you think that I am giving you a position of authority? No, avdos ani nosein lachem bachem. No, I'm giving you a position of avdos, of servitude. It's not a position of royalty being a rabbi. It's a position of servitude. And the question that bothers some is, it's not really true. As a rabbi, yes, on some level you are subservient to the community, to their needs, to their wants. But in the end of the day, the rabbis are the ones that make the decisions. It is a position of authority. So what is Rabbi Gamliel actually saying when he says that the position of a Rav is not a position of srar, not a position of authority, it's a position of avdos. So maybe just to give a little bit of a mashal, the Gemara in many places discusses that Kohanim could be one of two options. So machlokas comes down in many different places. Are Kohanim shluchei didon or shluchei derachmana? When we bring the karbanos and the Kohanim come and bring it on the mizbeach to Hashem, are they acting as shluchei didon, our messengers, and bringing it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Or are they shluchei derachmana, or are they HaKadosh Baruch Hu's messengers and getting the karban for Hashem, as it were? And the Gemara discusses it in many places. When it comes to Rabbanos, many understand what the avdos of Rabbi Gamliel, the avdos of a rabbi, is like shluchei didan. Just like the Kohanim, you can look at it as messengers of the people. So the Rav is shluchei, is an avdei didan, is an eved of the tzibur. He's an eved of the entire kehila. And in that way, therein lies the problem. He's not really an eved, he's a position of authority. He really is. But perhaps just like the Kohanim, the other perspective is they could be shluchei derachmana. They can be the messengers of the Ribono Shel Olam. So perhaps that's really what the Rav is. And he's a messenger of the Ribono Shel Olam. The rabbi is meant to be an eved of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now each and every one of us here have an obligation to be an eved Hashem. But there's something unique in the position of a Rav in his avdos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because the rabbi is meant to be in an ideal way this pure representative, the spokesperson of the Ribono Shel Olam and his Torah, the spokesperson of Emes, the representative of Torah's Emes. And in that way, vis-a-vis HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Rav has absolutely no authority. Because him as a representation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he is just, on some level, a mouthpiece. He's meant to be a symbol, but not a symbol of himself, a symbol of the Ribono Shel Olam. That's why when a rabbi gets kavod, walk in and they stand up for a rabbi, or they call him rabbi, whatever it is, that kavod is absolutely meaningless in terms of himself. It is not because of anything that the rabbi accomplished, but it's because of what the rabbi represents. It's because of the Torah that he represents, it's because of the emes that he is meant to represent. And so it becomes kvod shemaya, kvod toraso, it really becomes honor to the Ribono Shel Olam himself, and that's all that a rabbi really is meant to elicit, and that's what a rabbi is really meant to be. And in that sense, he's really an eved. He's an eved of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He has no almost personality on his own. He's meant to just be the symbol of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara in Nida tells us a story that Rav Papa once went to a certain town, and he gets to the town and he asks if there are any tzurba mirabanan there. Are there any tzurba mirabanan? Is the Aramaic way of saying a Talmud Chacham, a young scholar. And he wanted to go give shalom, he wanted to go say hello, to give a greeting to any young Talmud Chacham that was in the town. An elderly woman says, yes, we do have a tzurba mirabanan, Rav Shmuel Shimmy, his name is Rav Shmuel, and gives him a bracha, you should be just like this Rav Shmuel. Rav Papa hears this bracha and he thinks to himself, oh, if that's the bracha that this elderly lady is giving me, it must be Shema Mina that this Rav Shmuel is a Yirei Shamayim. He has fear of heaven. What emerges from the Gemara is something fascinating. Rav Papa never would have thought that a bracha that someone gave him to be like another Talmud Chacham had anything to do with their Chachma. That was totally irrelevant to him. It was so obvious to him that the only bracha to be like someone else, as great of a Talmud Chacham, has nothing to do with his Chachma, his wisdom, but only to do with his Yirah Shamayim. It is only to do with his connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his fear of heaven. And it's because what a rabbi represents is not just his Chachma. His Chachma is a mouthpiece. And when he has that Yirah Shamayim and he's able to truly represent the Ribono Shel Olam in a way to get as similar to Moshe Rabbeinu as possible, So that needs Yirah Shamayim. And Rav Papa understood that. So the only way you can truly be a rabbi in that town was to have the Yirah Shamayim, to understand that what underlies everything else is that Yirah Shamayim, is that ability to fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to understand that everything that he does is only because he is a representative, he is a symbol, he is a spokesperson for HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. The idea of there being srara for a rabbi, authority, it just doesn't work vis-a-vis Hashem. There's another important distinction, and this is wherein lies the avdus, the servitude. If a person would make a mistake in his avodas Hashem, so they made a mistake, and they do tshuva. If a rabbi that is supposed to represent HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a mistake in his avodas Hashem, so it's not just that he made a mistake and he has to do better, but the very fact that he represents HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his Torah, so what that mistake does, it distorts emes. It distorts what he represents. And it becomes a ziyah of HaTorah, it becomes a forgery of the Torah, and eventually a tremendous chil Hashem. And that's a tremendous achrayas. So Rabbi Leibowitz was speaking about before, the tremendous achrayas of a Rav. This is part of the tremendous achrayas, what you represent. One wrong move, and suddenly it becomes a ziyah of HaTorah, a forgery of the entire Torah, distorts emes, a chil Hashem. This is what Rabbi Gamliel was telling those two Rabbanim. I'm not giving you srara. There's no position of authority. Avdos ani nosim bachem. I'm giving you a position of servitude. The other responsibility of a rabbi is to be a connector. To be a connector of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the community. To be able to fairly represent what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to the community and connect the community through Torah, Tefillah, Gemilas Chasadim to the Ribono Shel Olam himself. The Rav therefore has to come with a very strong Masorah. He has to come from a very strong tradition. He has to have a base knowledge of halacha, of hashkafas HaTorah. All that's true. But perhaps more importantly is to be able to represent that knowledge, those halachos, that hashkafas HaTorah. To be able to give that over, to be able to pass that over. Because if you are a representative, if you are a spokesperson of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his Torah, it's irrelevant what you know in your head. It's about being able to give it over to the community, to the kehillah. And that's another sense of achrayus that any rabbi should have and would have. And again, there too, if you misrepresent halacha, if you misrepresent hashkafas HaTorah, so it's not just you made a mistake, but because of the symbol that the rabbi is now misrepresenting the Torah, he's distorting emes. He's creating a ziyah of HaTorah, a forgery, and ultimately a chil Hashem. And because of that, Avdos ani nosim bachem, Rabbi Gamliel is impressing that being a rabbi is not about a position of authority, but vis-a-vis the Ribono Shel Olam. It is a position of servitude. It is a position of Avdos. Because passing down that Masorah, passing down the Torah Shebaal Peh, giving it over, is such a significant aspect of the rabbi's position. The Medrash in Shir Hashirim tells us, the pasuk at the beginning of the second parak says that Samchuni ba'ashishos raftuni batapuchim. Samchuni ba'ashishos, sustain me with your grapes, with your wine. Raftuni batapuchim, freshen me up with your apples. And the Medrash tells us, Samchuni ba'ashishos, sustain me with your grapes, with your wine. Elu balei halacha, these are the masters of halacha. Raftuni batapuchim, freshen me up with apples. Elu balei agoda. These are the masters of Agada. And Shlomo Zalman Auerbach once commented that what the Sukkim are telling us, Ashishos, the wine, the reason why those represent the Balei Halacha is because everyone knows wine ages. The older the wine is, the better it is. And when it comes to Halacha, we have to look back to the ancient times. Because our Masorah, our tradition, is something so significant. This town has such a strong sense of Masorah, of Minhagim that are old, that are Atikin, more than any other place in America for sure. And that's Samchuni ba'ashishos. The Balei Halacha have to come from these old sources. We don't make things up. But Ravduni batapuchim, but freshen me up with apples, Elu Balei Agada. And perhaps what the Balei Agada are the people that are able to tell it over to the masses. It's the people that are able to teach. It's the people that are able to tell people what it means. What does the Torah mean? What does Torah Shebechsav mean? And what does Torah Shebaal Peh mean? And if you can take those old laws If you can take those that are samchuni ba'ashishos, that are like the wine, and you're able to freshen them up, her aftuni, and you're able to freshen them up for the people, that's the ultimate. And that's the goal. Because if you just give it over like an ancient text, it's not gonna hit. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach's mashal that he gave was, you can't take something Rav Yonasan Eibeshitz wrote in the 18th century, a drasha that he wrote, and give it over in America in the 21st century. He didn't say it in America. But because you can't. One has nothing to do with the other. We have problems that we have. Europeans had problems back then that they had. But to take the yisodos, to take the ideas, to take the halachos that are ancient, and be able to freshen them up for a community, so that's the ultimate of being a connector to Torah. That's the rabbi's, hopefully, capabilities to connect the community with Har Sinai, with Moshe Rabbeinu, with Torah Shebel Peh and Torah Shebechsav, and the Ribono Shel Olam himself. So the Rav, the rabbi, as an Eved Hashem, as a representative and a symbol of Torah, is meant to give this old Torah to connect not just Torah in terms of Talmud Torah, but to connect the community also in terms of Yiras Shamayim, to connect the community with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in terms of Tefillah, in terms of Chesed. And all that is his ability to be that connection and be that connector. With all that, assuming the rabbi has the ability to do all that, has the Yiras Shamayim, the Anava that comes along with being the proper Avdos that Rabbi Gamliel was talking about, understanding that responsibility. So the rabbi can really begin to start setting goals for a community. He can begin to try bringing people together. The rabbi can begin to elevate a community. The rabbi can begin to connect with each and every person, and specifically connect each and every person with the Almighty, with the Ribono Shel Olam himself. And this is a community where both Eliana and I obviously saw that tremendous potential that's already here. People who are looking to elevate themselves, so it's not that difficult just to be there and say, okay, let's come up together. And to grow with a community, to be whatever a leader means, leader in terms of Avdos, to be that representative of Torah for the people is a tremendous achrayus that I take very, very seriously. And I hope with the brachos of Meir that we're able to schlep out tonight, the brachos of Rabbi Tatz, that at least we'll get some zechuyos to be able to continue to elevate this community. Ad Bias Goal. Thank you very much.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This is a very special moment for our shul, for our synagogue, for our congregation, and we look forward to continuing together, going into the Yom Noram season. Next week, we're really going to kick it off in a meaningful way. We're having with an a cappella choir here for Shabbos and a big kumsis, and really to kick us off with a meaningful slichos. With that, I want to wish everyone a K'siva Tova, and we're going to conclude with Mariv.